manly as a lot of the people out there who are going to be watching the Seahawks and the Carolina Panthers coming up here in a little while. In fact, I'm so unmanly that I don't even know who played in the earlier playoffs today. You know, the truth is, I played football in high school. I liked football. I went to Dallas Cowboys games when I was a kid. And I can sure get into a game. I can sure enjoy it. But, you know, when I realized that it's used as a propaganda tool by the social engineers, and that the patriotism you see during the game has been paid for with millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars a year of taxpayer money, and that it's basically fake, when you learn that there's so much incredible corruption and that they're using it as a political bread and circus, a modern Roman Colosseum, where that becomes the manhood of the country. Not men being men, not men being informed, not men being politically involved, not men being fighters for freedom, but a bunch of men that act like men, that act macho, that act tough, but at the end of the day, roll over to every form of oppression and tyranny there is. And to a man, when you're talking to them, they don't care about what's happening in the country. They don't care about what's happening in the world. They think it's weird that you're involved, that you're concerned, that you're informed. But boy, they want to talk to you all day about the playoffs and about March Madness coming up in a few months, and on and on and on, and fantasy this and make-believe that. It's just as bad as teenagers that live in these fantasy world video games where they have mansions and hot girlfriends and Ferraris in Fantasyland, not in the real world. They are being targeted by propaganda. It's working on them, and you sit there and explain to them that it's one thing, say, in the 1950s, if you don't take football too serious, to go see your kids play in the game, teaches them leadership, teaches them to be tough. It's great if you're part of the game, if your family's in the game. It's about athleticism. It's about exercise. It's about being manly, or about being strong as a woman. I'm all for it. My kids are in swim team and gymnastics and martial arts and tennis, you know, the whole 9 yards. I get it. And I go watch them compete. But I don't, when I had friends on the UT football team, when I was in school, I went to 3 or 4 UT football games a year. And do you know why I went? I was already on air. I was already anti-sports. But I went because some of my friends were playing on the field. Then it was interesting. So I'm not here judging anybody who's into sports. I get it. I've been there. In fact, even though I've been awake, what year was it that the Red Sox finally went back to the World Series? It's like 8, 9, 10 years ago. And I was working on a film with a director who was into the Red Sox. And so I started at his office working late and then going out to restaurants or bars with him to watch it up to the World Series. But it just took like a month or whatever, but it took over my life. I was calling my wife saying, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going back out tonight to watch the Red Sox. I mean, I get it, folks. If I started watching it within days, if I started watching ESPN, I would be hooked like a 10-pound bass on the end of a line. Right through my lip. I'm not judging you. I get it. I've been there. But just like alcohol, it's addictive, and when abused, it is destructive. And there's so much for me to talk about today, so much going on, so much happening, so much unfolding. But when you talk about a culture, what is our culture? What made us great? Being explorers, being innovators, being inventors, learning science, knowing a bunch of languages, traveling the world, building economic systems, developing the world we now enjoy. And now these incredible innovators and trailblazers and rugged individualists that are pure Americana, that made us the special nation we were, the exceptional country we were, heads above the rest, shoulders above the rest. Hell, they weren't up to our bootstraps. Beat the greatest empires in war. Beat the greatest empires in innovation. developed the whole modern world. The whole world's culture is American. And then it got conquered by the social engineers by the 70s completely. They already had great toeholds before that in the newspapers. But when TV rolled around in the 30s and became ubiquitous by the 50s, and people stopped sitting around the table, listening to stories from mom and dad about work and about life, kids stopped growing. They became arrested development because now they were being raised by the television. Now the state and the media was the center of their life. Now there was a Jim Jones cult leader every single morning and every single lunch and every single dinner, telling you what to believe, telling you what to think, telling you how to behave. And boy, it knew how to sucker people. The first stuff it put out for a decade or so was wholesome and fun and strong and good and Americana. And people are like, I love TV. That's a big juicy worm on the end of that hook. Yum. But then, within a decade or so, suddenly the males on the shows were idiots. Suddenly the women were the bosses. Suddenly the state had to take your rights to keep you safe. Suddenly there were other messages being brought in. And there we were being desensitized, being controlled, and the system's written countless books, countless university studies, white papers. They had the Stanford research studies. They had others. There's more than 7 famous ones where they were able to get 9 out of 10 or more people to murder subjects in the graduate student and PhD programs. Look them up. There are a bunch of famous studies. Just type in famous study where students believe they were killing subjects. And when an authority figure stood there, their professor, by successful approximation, took a week or so of them slowly torturing people they believed with actors, with electric shocks to then say, kill them. And most people would then kill, or what they believed was murder, under peer pressure from an authority figure. That's the Milgram experiment on obedience to authority figures. And that's what this has all been about, ladies and gentlemen. And so they tell you the authority figures are all these ridiculously corrupt sports icons that are just like corrupt rock stars. To me, the rock stars that have reformed themselves and been leaders in their communities and stood up for American freedom are heroes. Not just because somebody's got $100 million and a hot girlfriend and uses a bunch of drugs. That's not a role model. And I know we know this, but why is it being force-fed? I remember reading 20-something years ago in different publications that were a little bit more brainy that the CIA by the 50s had put out a worldwide program to put out ugly art to discredit beautiful art because they wanted to destroy the discrimination factors in the brain between what is good and what is bad. They wanted us rudderless. Then there's the Stanford prison experiment. Yes, both of them basically did the same thing. And once they've got you rudderless, it's all over. Just last year, they came out with a headline, CIA-funded ugly and deviant art. See, now they're telling the whole public. I shot a video earlier on Facebook Mentions, and it's something I talked about last week several times. And sure enough, I've gotten emails. I've seen comments. When this is a YouTube video tomorrow, you will see comments beneath us saying it's not true. It doesn't matter I'm holding up MIT Technology Review. It doesn't matter you can go to their website and read human-animal chimeras are gestating on U.S. research farms. A radical new approach to generating human organs is to grow them inside pigs or sheep, also cows. They grow a larger humanoid up inside the animal and then harvest it. I was telling you about this 20 years ago, but again, the point is, even today, the public can't admit this is happening. And through this story, you understand everything. Is the mark of the beast real? We'll get into that, too. A clean, toxic-free body is the foundation of true health. Introducing Deep Cleanse by InfoWarsLife.com, a scientifically formulated blend of nanocolloidal zeolites and organic ingredients that aid the body in cleansing chemicals and toxic metals. We use only the highest quality organic herbs backed by serious research, and we still bring it to you at the best price out there. If you wish to find Deep Cleanse and experience the all-in-one cleansing, visit InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.